Hi everyone. So I've talked to some of you about some basic project management tips and techniques for helping you think about planning your dissertation or your GSD project module. I thought I'd share that more widely with everyone. I've looked around to see if I could find a useful pre-existing video, but as usual, couldn't quite identify something that's totally fit for purpose. So I have just decided to, off the top of my head, make one for you. The three things that I hope these tips and techniques allow us to do is to understand all the tasks of the dissertation, or at least think those through, understand what sort of order they need to be done in, and also how long they take. Out of the end of this relatively quick exercise, we'll have a good understanding of what we're doing, when we're doing it, and how long it's going to take as the maximum or as the minimum amount of time. So, title slide, please. Basic project management ideas. The first task is to do some brainstorming. I'm going to show you this idea using PowerPoint. There are lots of other options. You could use Word, you could use Excel. My preferred method by far, if I were doing this myself, as usual with everything, would be either a big bit of paper or a wall in my office or my house, and a whole bunch of Post-it notes and a marker pen. So instead of using text boxes as I'm going to do, I'd be using Post-it notes. You can do this activity either individually, and you can also do it as a group activity. And I would recommend doing it together because I think between you, you'll have more ideas about what to do and when to do it. A bit of intersubjective knowledge construction and planning, which I hope we all agree by this stage is the way to do it, working in teams. So, first task, brainstorm all the things I need to do to get my dissertation done. Yeah, let's try it. Let's do it this way around. So I'm not. I'm gonna do insert text box, and I am going to do. I need to do my ethics training. I then need to do my. I've talked to quite a few of you about this, the idea of doing a literature review to understand existing knowledge so I can form a draft question which can change. Even up to the very end of the project, we could change our question entirely after we've done everything if we wanted to. We're going to need probably to do some data generation, analysis, what have we got? Write up, hand in, ethics, proposal, supervisor, review, ethics. It's not just the supervisor, is it? It's the ethics officer review. And in between this, maybe we have to do a revision to ethics proposal. So, yeah, working individually, working as a team. What are all the different stages? Then, what kind of order do we think these need to be done in? And we can start to, that's why it's nice to use PowerPoint, start to think about what activities have to follow one another and what can be done at the same time. So here I can be progressing my literature review. I'll probably need to start it before my ethics proposal because I need to understand I need to understand some of the subject before I have any idea what my project's going to be about. But then other things can be maybe a little bit more concurrent and parallel. So these things probably have to follow each other. Right, I'm going to stop that now. The nice thing about PowerPoint is then we can start to show this very visually. So we can say, first thing I need to do is my ethics training. There's nothing I need to complete before that. So that can be a very first thing. And I know I have to do that before I write my ethics proposal because otherwise I won't know what to do. And I have to have written my proposal before I can submit it to my supervisor to review it. I have to have got it reviewed by the supervisor before maybe I revise it. That may or may not be need to be done, but let's see. Perhaps the supervisor reviews and says it's fine, in which case it goes straight to the officer. Sorry, my laptop keys are sticking a bit, but maybe after revision it goes to the ethics officer. I know I'm not allowed to do any interviews or surveys, any data generation, before I have ethical clearance. So that's an absolute line in the sand. I need to do data generation before I can analyze my data and do analysis before I can write any of it up. Sort of. I mean, you can, as your analysis can form part of your writing, but let's just say, and then to hand in. Okay. I'm going to stop that there, but hopefully you start to see how this thing comes together. And if I've done it right by adding the lines, if I needed to shuffle this around, because yours is going to have a lot more detail, it's going to be a lot more complex and hard to fit things on. But this way, you can move it all around and make it look nice. If you run out of space, you can make the slide bigger, but you don't need to. You can just zoom out. That's a nice thing about PowerPoint. So then we've got we know what we're doing. We have some idea of the order that things need to be done. We can then start to add some time elements. So hand in. I don't know when your dissertation is handed in. Let's say it's the 1st of March, 2019. That's our project completion date. And then we want to think back, and we want to think in units of time. We want to make the most accurate and arguably the most pessimistic informed guess as we can for how long each of these is going to take. My write-up, well, actually, that's quite hard, isn't it? Let's come back to that. Let's think about analysis. And this is a genuine, off the top of my head process, and this is how you'll be doing it. Analysis, how long is that going to take? No idea. Well, actually, what my data generation, let's say my methodology, at this stage, I think it's going to be doing some interviews. It's going to be doing, let's say, 5 really key stakeholder elite interviews with members of the council about the food waste management situation. Each interview is going to be between an hour and 2 hours. So the absolute maximum amount of time, the physical interviews could take, 5, so that's 10 hours possibly, but I've got to get there, I've got to come back. Councillors probably have got other things to do with their lives, so it's not just going to be about me. Blah, blah, blah. Let's go for a month. It may well take a month to get that done. And although I can start maybe some of my analysis a little bit before having done all of my interviews, maybe, I am going to have completed all of them before I can finish my analysis. So that might overlap kind of a little bit there. But analysis, if I were to thinking about how it might overlap a bit, let's say, for the sake of argument, another month. So now I know that I've got at least 5 interviews, going to do month analysis. Let's say, that sounds like quite a lot of work, another month. Ethics officer review. So everyone, how long is that possibly going to take? Well, that could take up to 2 weeks. It also could be 2 weeks with the supervisor, because the process is a maximum of a month in total. How long will I take to revise it? Well, let's say 4 hours, but I will have other things to do, obviously. Writing it, it's not a long document, but there's a lot of thinking that has to go into it. Let's say that's a day. The ethics training, let's say that's going to take 4 hours. We filled everything in, yeah, kind of. So here now we can say, right, hand in 1st of March, minus a month for the write-up. There will be things in between that. We'll be wanting to edit it. We'll be wanting to get proof reading done by our friends. So this is only indicative, more about the process of how we think this through. Analysis a month, so that's 2-3 months. And we can start to think about how things may or may not overlap. And we can say, well, this is based on our understanding of what we need to do and when. The dissertation is going to take 4 months, 2 weeks, and a day to complete. We can then start to look at sort of the maximum and minimum time. So here I may or may not have 4 hours of revision. So my maximum time will obviously be plus 4 hours versus my minimum time, which will could potentially be going straight from the supervisor to the ethics officer. So by adding all this up, doing a detailed version, I could suddenly see that I need to start my dissertation and do the ethics training no later than yesterday. Oh, okay, I need a plan now because I'm already a day behind. Let's get on with it. And this is the great thing about doing this activity. You can reflect on it and update. So if I know I've got a month of write-up, a month of analysis, a month of data generation, and I have to hand in March, if I'm only starting my data generation in February, I know I've got a serious problem. And I'm going to have to amend my project management plan. I'm going to have to say I can't do 5 interviews. I'm going to just do 1. Therefore, that brings down this time. The analysis will be shorter, the write-up will be shorter, and I still have a chance of getting my project in by the absolute last day of acceptable completion, the 1st of March, unless I've got some sort of mitigating circumstance. So hopefully you can see here how just a little quick think along these lines helps us identify what it is we've got to do, how long it's going to take, and when do we need to do it by in order to keep on track. This can then be constantly referred to and updated to ensure that we have a high quality dissertation submitted well on time, and it makes everyone very happy. As I said at the beginning, there are much higher quality resources out there thinking about these things in more detail, but hopefully that gives you a flavour. So if you think it's useful, please have a go. Please talk to each other about it. Do the brainstorming together. If you do it individually, share it with your colleagues. Ask them, what have I missed out? Can I go straight from analysis to write-up? Is there anything in between? Can I go straight from my literature review into my data generation? Someone probably says, no, you have to define like a draft question, because otherwise, conceptually, you won't know how to structure your interviews. You won't know what to ask people about if you haven't got previous knowledge, and if you don't ultimately know what question you're answering. So that question might be super exploratory. What do counsellors think about food waste? But at least you've got something to guide your the creation of your interview questions. So doing it collectively will be way more effective than doing it individually, I would say. Use each other as a critical peer review source. Hope that's useful. If you've got any questions, post them on the forum, and I'll do my best to answer them. Maybe your colleagues can